Good morning. Today I want to talk about the best strategy for ongoing career success. So a couple of days ago, I did a video called Reframing Networking. Before I start this insight around networking and around it being the best strategy for ongoing career success, I want to share a little story. Many years ago, I lived in the US for a couple of years, came back from the States. I think it was around 2004. Arrived back on the Thursday, and the Friday got a call from one of my ex-bosses who said, "Hey, I heard you're back in the country. I have a role. Can you start on Monday?" That was bizarre. Just the fact that he actually knew I was back in the country was bizarre. But it was so wonderful to be able to land a role without really doing anything. And why I'm telling you the story is to demonstrate the power of networking and building relationships. So currently, obviously, we are seeing the consequences of the pandemic of 2020 still raging in many parts of the world at the moment. We're not doing so badly here in Australia, but other countries are out of control. If you look at the numbers, you can see that the numbers are just climbing by the minute. And so now is the time to think about tapping the hidden job market because the market is so tight. Recruiters and hiring people are seeing hundreds of applications for one role. But here's the other thing to know is that many job roles are not advertised externally. Many of the job roles, at least last time I did research, which wasn't that long ago, showed that 80% of job roles fill the hidden job market. In other words, they happen inside of networks and with insider information and seeking employees through people's networks. So now more than ever is an important time to start building those networks. If you didn't think it was important before, it certainly is important now. And so I encourage you to really think about, that thing that a lot of people are afraid of, and that is building networks. And go and revisit that video I did, I think it was 2 days ago, about reframing networking. So you can see how to approach networking or how to change your mindset about networking so that it becomes an active part of your career development. Why networking is important to your success. Putting time and energy into building personal and professional relationships, which is another way of looking at networking. It's really about building relationships, but mutually beneficial relationships. Relationships that start out with you giving first before you ever think of asking. These types of relationships can pay dividends over the lifetime of your career. Why? Because people know people and people have inside information on what's going on within their companies. So for me, in my last, I'd say 12, maybe years of corporate, I never had to hunt for a gig. All of my gigs found me. They found me through the networks. I'd worked with various people on different projects in different companies. And then, 2 or 3 years later, they'd have a project that they were putting together. They were, organizing a team, and I'd get a call and say, "Are you free? Do you want to come and work on this project?" So that's the power of networking. And I have to be honest and say that I was quite resistant to that when I first started out, but over time got to see the benefits. And I did reframe it in my mind. I like building relationships with people. I enjoy people's company. I like getting to know things about them. I'm naturally curious about people and what makes them tick. And so when I reframed that in my mind as networking being just another word for building relationships, it was a lot easier to do. And it certainly paid dividends for me over my corporate career and does today for me in my business. Networking helps elevate confidence building skills. And this is an evergreen skill that is necessary for ongoing growth and success. So obviously to build networks, we need to be confident, need to be able to feel comfortable talking to people, reaching out to people. And the more you do it, the better you become at it and the more confident you get. and confidence skills is never going to take you astray. It is always going to be a skill, as I said, an evergreen skill that you need to continue to develop over time. The other thing about networking is it helps you gain access to possible mentors or business partners, and consequently accesses to resources or options that are necessary for ongoing career development. So, if you can find a mentor through networking, that's gold. So many people out there like to help. I think we are the ones that hold ourselves back. We don't ask for help, or we don't create relationships where we are able to pick people's brains, trust, and their knowledge. And most people are quite open in sharing their knowledge. People like to help. They like to share what they've learned along the way. But often it's a matter of reaching out and creating that relationship where you're able to feel comfortable in tapping someone's knowledge or their brain's trust. Networking broadens your knowledge of your company if you extend networking to within your current job. So most people think networking is about going to tap external environments, like looking at other companies or meetups or things like that. Often people overlook that they can network within their own company. If you get to know other business units and people in other business units, you increase your chance of getting insider information on promotions coming up. You might be interested in a different area of work, and you could tap that particular business unit if you've built great relationships with people in those business units. People always share insider information. They like, people. I've had many people say to me when I've worked at various corporations, in HR that I befriended or that I was friends with, we have the coffee, we have the odd lunch, and then they just casually mention, hey, this role is going in this business unit. Do you know someone? Because here's the other thing. People prefer to hire people that other people recommend. They know they have a better shot of getting a good employee. And why do they like this? Because training someone from scratch can be expensive. If the person does not take to the job, going back out to the market and trying to find a suitable candidate is an expensive exercise. So most times employers or HR managers or recruiters prefer to tap a network and receive recommendations because they know the chances are higher that they're going to get a good candidate. The other thing network does, it gives you a measure of control over your career progression when you continue to build networks. It broadens your opportunity radar. If you stay confined in your boxes and you're afraid to go out there and network, you really restrict your opportunity radar. Like I said earlier, people know people, and people like to hire people that other people recommend. So in the super tight job market, in volatile and changing times where we don't know what's happening from 1 minute to the next, and the job market is currently flooded because of job loss, business loss, I highly recommend you put aside your nerves around building networks, or you're resistant to building networks, and maybe look at them as relationships, empowered relationships, and start on that journey, because we all need it to continue to thrive. We all need the guidance and help of others, and you start by building those empowered relationships. Look, a good career profile documents when you're applying for jobs or you're wanting to change careers is important, but building your networks is a much better strategy for long-term career success and for you tapping into the 80% of roles that reside in the hidden job market. So don't underestimate the power and the importance of building your networks or empowered relationships, if that makes you feel better about that whole exercise. Have a great day and here's to happy relationship building. Bye.